What's up, everybody? This is your host, Michael Thrax, and this is the Neon Nightcast podcast coming at you
live from where are we?
Address did not disclosed or whatever.
Okay, all right.
I was trying to think of a word, but I can. I'm joined by Garrett Zagri and Eric the Dr. Soybean.
Thank you, or as I like to refer to you, the Mr. Flute Snoot to my Mr. Weatherby.
Sure.
All right.
Let's get into this one right away because this is going to be a long one. As you can tell from the title, we're talking about the top 10 rated movies of all time.
IMDB, according to the users.
It's user rated. It's Internet Movie Database, which is like the biggest, like that in Rotten Tomatoes. And we took out Coco and Godfather 2, mainly because Godfather 2 none of us have seen.
More because Godfather 1 is also somewhere on the list, and it would be redundant.
Yeah, and we can touch on both of them, kind of. And we took out Coco because that movie just came out, and like, how was it already?
Yeah, we haven't had time to watch it yet.
Also, typically what happens with this list is when a movie first comes out and is very popular, it will shoot way up. Yeah. Right, but after like a month or so, it drops right back down. So probably Coco's not going to be in the top 10 for long,
the link to the list that we read off of will be posted in the description. Let's get into it. Number 1, Forrest Gump. No, number 10, Forrest Gump. First on our list that we're going to talk about is the 10th on that list, Forrest Gump. What do you guys think?
So, I watched this a couple years ago for the first time, and I never realized that like he was mentally handicapped until I watched it. Like
later. Okay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, because you always hear Forrest Gump, and you always hear "Run, Forrest, Run." Right. But before I watched the movie, I had no idea that he was actually like mentally handicapped,
mentally ill. Yeah.
Can we not say the R word?
Yeah, let's no.
Spread the word to end the word. But yeah, so. It's just a series of lucky events that happens in his life. Like, literally the luckiest man alive.
Is he lucky?
I think so. Like, for someone with such a low intelligence to get all these things to happen to him, end up like making it through the war, making like $1 million industry because he gets a fucking crab or shrimp fishing boat.
What you need to realize, it's the whole reason why the movie kind of works is because he's telling this to strangers at the bus stop, and they don't know if they believe him or not.
Yeah, I guess.
And, like, you can 100... Like, I believe everything that happened, but does the person at the bus stop do? I don't know. And is that
maybe
why
it's
it
like
works?
He's saying what he thinks happened to him because he can't he's not like super self-aware of everything that's going on. So he's just talking about what he thinks happened, but
he just did like some amazing things, and he lived through a long time.
Yeah, like he gets a medal from Vietnam.
Yeah. Just really quickly, I talked about my theory on the Trailer Park Boys episode of the podcast very briefly, but I do not believe that his son at the end of the movie is actually his son. I think it is a crack baby that she just dropped off at his house, and she knew that he was a good enough person and a dumb enough person to believe her. But even if he didn't believe her, he would raise that kid because he's a good person. I don't believe it is his flesh and blood, though.
Right. Yeah, I briefly gave my thoughts on the film on the same podcast, so I'll just briefly repeat it here. Personally, I don't really like the movie. I think it's really overrated. If you like it, that's fine. It just didn't really do anything for me. I thought the whole premise of it was pretty silly. The idea that that guy had been involved in so many significant events, it's just, and I get that it's a movie, but I thought it was ridiculous. And also I thought Jenny was a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So
Jenny, I think everyone agrees that Jenny's a piece of shit.
You know, I don't know. It is a weird premise for a movie. It's really weird. Like, a mentally ill man lives through, like, all of the greatest moments in, like, modern American history. And does all these... I don't know. I like it. It's not one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, but I don't think it's a bad movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad, but I do think it's a little bit overrated. Like, I'm honestly surprised that it made it this high up on the IMDb, because, I mean, it is a good movie, but there's a lot of movies that you can look through this list and, or, yeah, you see, oh, this one's way better, that one's way better, so.
Well, talking about overrated movies, though, let's move on to number 9, Inception. Now, Inception...
Yeah. Inception, I want to mention real quick that this is one on the list that I haven't seen yet. It's been on a list of movies. I don't know if you guys have this, but I always have like a mental list of movies that I've been meaning to watch and get to eventually. And I just somehow haven't gotten to this one yet. People told me I'd really like it because I actually used to do lucid dreaming, but I somehow haven't gotten around to it yet. So I'm curious what you guys think of it.
Okay, so when it first came out, I thought it was really smart, and I thought I was just not understanding things. So then, like, I rewatched it, and, you know, you read things online. Now I think it's just a lot of, like... I think it's like a smart movie, but for bros. And why I say that is because one year when I was working at camp, when it did come out, there was a group of bros that worked there, and they were like broing out so hard over that movie, and I'm like,
I think a smart movie for bros, which should be the tagline to Fight Club. But anyways, go on.
I think it's good. I think it's, I guess, kind of interesting. I don't really want to give anything away if you've seen it, but like, I think it's overrated, but it's not a shitty movie. It's still kind of okay.
I haven't seen it either, but it's become one of the biggest memes, or was one of the biggest memes on the internet for such a long time, because it's just like, oh, Inception into Inception into Inception, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
there's
it has had a pretty big pop culture reference, or backing, I guess.
There's like, so yeah, they like, okay, so they talk about the science in the beginning of the movie, how they'll have one person who's basically like the creator of the dreams, and they can like, it like helps them, or I don't know if they create it out fully, or they can like just help them shape it or whatever. So anyways, they get into the dream of the guy, and then they're like, we have to go into this guy's dream within this dream. And then that slows down all the time within this dream. So that will give us time, because we're falling off of a bridge, and that will give us time to get what we need.
It's like the Rick and Morty episode where they just keep going deeper and deeper into someone else's dream.
And it's just like, I don't know. It's just another one of these movies where it kind of has like this weird premise and like a really weird made up science, and does it work? I don't know. It's okay. Yeah, I guess the next on the list is one I've never seen, 12 Angry Men.
Well, the one on the list is the 1957 original, which I haven't seen. They actually remade it as a made-for-TV movie sometime in the 90s. I have seen that.
Yeah, I've seen the 90s one too, and I've also read the book, so...
I liked it. I mean, I I can't comment on the original that's on this list. From what I understand, the 90s version is a pretty much straight up remake and that they really didn't change much of anything. So it's probably very similar. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, I think it called into a lot of like social issues of the time, I think, because it's just these 12 jurors who are deciding whether or not this person is innocent or guilty of killing his father. And I forgot what the sentence would have been if he was guilty.
It was either death or life in prison. It was something extreme like that.
It was something extreme. And there's just one juror the entire time that's like, I don't know, like there's not a lot of facts that point to this kid actually killing his father. And all the other jurors are like, oh, come on, like you're wasting our time. Let's just get done with this. Like all of us agree that he's done it except for you. And he just holds on. It's like, no, I don't think so. And
so they
eventually turns them all into thinking that he's innocent, I believe is how it ended.
Yeah, I mean, the movie is basically him convincing these other 11 people that he's right. And some of them are logical people, and they're persuaded very easily by his logical arguments. Others are, like, there's one guy who's a racist and just doesn't like the guy who's defended because of his race. There's one guy who has a really bad relationship with his son, so he doesn't want to... He's like really upset about a son being accused of killing his father, so that makes him harder to convince. Then there's like a guy who's just a shithead and basically wants the trial to be over as quickly as possible because he's got like tickets to a ball game that he wants to use that night. Yeah. So it also gets into like the personalities of all the different people in the room. Yeah, and I thought it was pretty good, pretty entertaining movie, and very well done. Also, King of the Hill, the episode where they do the focus group for the riding lawnmower is a parody of it, if you guys remember that.
Yeah, I was thinking there's also a parody on Family Guy, where Brian's the one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Where Family Guy, it's like literally like in a courtroom and...
Right. Yeah. So obviously it has had some outreach. It was pretty big at some point. And
I might actually
obviously still pretty big. So
I might actually watch this tonight because I read the storyline and shit on IMDb and I guess it's I've known about the movie. I guess it's not really been on my list to see, but if it's so rated so well, I should probably see it.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those classic, like, I read this in my English class in high school, so I think it is just one of those classic literature pieces that, you know, a lot of people have read and a lot of people have seen the movie, so.
Right. The next movie on the list is, it holds a special place in my heart as my favorite movie of all time.
And for that reason, it's another one I've been meaning to watch for a long time, but go on.
The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It is a movie about three... I'll call them... What would you call them? They're not cowboys.
Gunslingers, outlaws.
Gunslingers, outlaws, bounty hunters.
Bounty hunter.
3 guys out in the Wild West. They learn of a sack of gold within a grave, and it is their journey to find it. Now, Eric, you haven't seen it, but have you seen it, Garrett?
I've not.
Well, you're both missing out. It's so well made.
Was this the one that got Clint Eastwood like super famous?
I think Clint Eastwood was pretty famous before it.
Okay.
So Clint Eastwood plays the Good, and you learn about him and his personality and his experiences. The Middle, the Bad and the Ugly, I don't know the actors' names, but the Bad his name is Angel Eyes. He's barely in it. He's mostly like the main villain, but it's mostly about the Ugly, Tuco. And you learn basically everything about this guy and why he is a bandit and why he does the things he does. And it's him and Clint Eastwood, and it's their journey as they work together, but like they're trying to like kill each other at every turn and stuff like that.
It's like Samurai Champloo.
Pretty much, yeah. And the ending is just so fucking good. The soundtrack is unbelievably good. Metallica, I think before all of their concerts, they have like an orchestra play one of the main themes from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess if none of you guys have seen it, you should see it because it's goddamn fucking amazing. It's really long and it's really slow paced, but I like that shit.
That's what I hate. I hate long, drawn out, slow movies.
Oh, I love that shit. That's why the new Blade Runner was so good, because there was so much silence, so much like just allowing you to just like enjoy the sets and everything.
The length bothers me a lot more than things being slow paced, because I agree with you when it comes to slow paced things. I hate a lot of movies these days, especially kids movies these days. Like, you got to be on fucking Adderall to even follow what's going on. Everything is just gibbering noise nonstop.
See, there's a lot of modern movies where like I can't even like think of like what the room they're in, like in a scene, what the room they're in looks like. But like The Good, Bad, the Ugly, I remember all the sets and all of the places, and like a movie like 2001 Space Odyssey, which is Kubrick.
Mm-hmm.
He just let the camera just sit right there, and it doesn't move, it doesn't cut, it just sits on the room, and you just like hear them talking, and that's awesome. I just love shit like that, man. Yeah. You guys talk. I have to do something. You guys talk.
I agree with you about that 100%. The length is more off-putting, and it's only because, like, you know, a lot of times your time is limited. So, like, you know, it's very easy to sit down and watch an hour and 20-minute movie, or even a 2-hour movie. But when you start getting into these 3-hour plus movies, you know, sometimes
how many 3-hour plus movies are there though? There's not many. So,
well, yeah, you're right. I'm just saying it makes it like it's harder to find time to watch a movie that's that long. I'm just saying, unless you break it up.
Most modern movies are shorter now. Like, most modern movies are between an hour and a half. Like, barely any modern movies reach 2 hours. Like,
no, I agree with you.
And
Can
you guys? Is this better?
Maybe I missed your point. I thought you said that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
I thought you said that you couldn't find time to watch these movies.
Well, that is basically what I'm saying, because I'm saying it's easy to watch a movie that's an hour and a half or even 2 hours, because you often have that much time free on a weekend or a night or whatever. But when the movie is like a really long one like that, like 3 hours or more, you know, it's like, do I want to sit down and, you know, there goes half my fucking day basically watching this movie? That, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's a lot more time to invest in it. But the slow pace doesn't bother me. I agree with what Mike said about that. But
I mean, like the last movie I remember that had a slow pace that I enjoyed was The Hateful Eight.
Yeah,
and that was a good movie, because
that's a great movie.
Because it's, from what Mike said, it's kind of like Good, Bad, the Ugly, because you learn about their backgrounds, you learn about why they're all here, and what's driving them, basically.
Yeah, yeah, I was definitely for sure really inspired on it.
Yeah, so I guess I shouldn't say I'm opposed to long drawn out movies, but whenever I think about it and you open up saying, oh, hey, this is a long drawn out movie, I'm like,
See, it scares people off, but it shouldn't, because if you're going to sit down and watch a movie, what the fuck's the difference between an hour and like 2 hours? Like, really, like, you want to watch a movie, watch a movie.
Yeah.
You're sitting down because you have the time to watch it.
Yeah, but I mean, some people only have a certain amount of time, so you have to select the right movie. You can't just take our next movie, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King,
which is I think it's longer.
It's over 3 hours. It's almost 3.5 hours.
It is longer. Good and the Bad, the Ugly is 178 minutes. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is 201 minutes. So it's longer.
And see, Lord of the Rings, that is a trilogy. We've already talked about it, so let's not touch on it too much. But I think
I want to go deep on this.
I think the third one is fucking way too long, and it has like 29 endings.
Well, which one is this though? Is this the first, second, or third?
It's the third one.
Third.
The third. Okay. Well, I wanted to clarify. I didn't recognize from the name, but yeah.
Yeah. So it is the third one, and I think it is actually the longest, and it makes sense that it's the longest because they have to go through a lot of shit still.
Yeah.
But like Lord of the Rings, all of the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson did a fucking fantastic job on these movies, and all the actors were great. I was trying to think of a word, but like they're just some of the best actors.
Now,
like, except for Elijah Wood, I fucking hate Elijah Wood.
Here's my Elijah Wood and Samwise impression. Mr. Frodo. Oh, Sam.
Shut the fuck up.
That's what they sound like.
Now, my question is, are they really fucking great movies, or are they just the best rendition of The Lord of the Rings? Because the two ones that they did before them were so garbage that everyone was like, it's impossible to turn those into good movies. Like, I think
they're fantastic.
I think someone could do those movies better.
No, I disagree. I thought the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I thought they were exactly what needed to be done. You needed a straight up adaptation of those books. Yes, they left shit out because otherwise the movies would be 4 hours instead of 3 hours.
Yeah.
So that was necessary. But I think what they needed was directors and writers and producers who weren't going to try to like put their individual spin on it. The tale just needed to be told. That's why when you're talking about the old ones that sucked, like one of them, the animated one, they gave it to Ralph Bakshi, who is an amazing fucking animator, an extremely talented guy, made one of my favorite movies of all time, Wizards, which you've seen with me, Mike. But this guy, he specializes in trippy, fucked up, psychedelic animation. So giving him Lord of the Rings was a mistake because you didn't need somebody to put a spin on Lord of the Rings. You just needed them to make Lord of the Rings. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I just think it could be done better.
How so?
I don't think so because I think Eric like nailed it on the head.
Okay,
like,
so
the tale just need to be told, and Peter Jackson did that very well with these.
So I'm gonna sound, I think, a little hypocritical, but as I just talked about how I like long drawn out movies, I think they were long drawn out movies, but not done well.
I don't think so at all. Like, there's a shit ton of action in all of them. Like, the very beginning of the first one, you have Bilbo's 100th birthday, 110th, 119th, something fucking like that.
111th.
Yeah. 111th. Yeah, 11th, or whatever they say in the book. And then, you know, they have the four hobbits running to Bree. And then after they get to Bree, you have the ring wraiths looking for them. And then they run away from Bree and go to the old watchtower where Frodo gets stabbed. And then Frodo gets stabbed. He gets taken to Elrond's house, Rivendell. So I don't think they're long and drawn out at all.
Okay,
they didn't feel like 3-hour movies to me.
Yeah, they really didn't.
They feel like they're like 6-hour movies. No, okay, so I don't know how to pinpoint it because, okay, yeah, it is a movie that it's more about the journey, and that's basically what The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is, but maybe, you know, I just kind of don't like medieval. I think that a lot of the fighting doesn't really do it for me. I'm more of like a one-on-one than like these big, like, look at all these bodies moving. This is so much action, but like it
there's plenty of one-on-ones.
Nah, I don't really remember. But I just, you know, maybe I just don't like the Lord of the Rings. I just think it could be done in a better sense, but then I think that it would be just redoing the movies or redoing the story in general. So
yeah, I mean, I don't think this isn't my favorite Lord of the Rings. The second one is my favorite, just because it has the battle for Helm's Deep and the battle against Sauron.
Yeah.
Or it's not Sauron. Sauron. That's the wizard, right? Sauron or Saruman?
It's too similar.
It's Saruman. That's what it is. That's the wizard, Saruman. And it has the battle with the fucking Ents and all that shit, and it's wonderful. So that's why the second one's my favorite. But I loved all three. So
yeah, I don't know. They're okay. I guess I wouldn't put the third one on the top 10 list, but I'd probably put the second one. But I can understand why it's so highly rated, but just not for me.
And I think of the technology. Like, these ones were done. Second one was done 2002 or something like that, and the CGI and like just the amount of effects they had to put on different people for orcs and for the Ents, and just all this amazing technology that went into these movies. Because like these were like some of the first ones with, I think, that had like great graphics and technology.
Yeah, I think it was pretty groundbreaking it came out. But speaking of a lot of people dying in war, let's talk about Schindler's List.
That was fucked up. Jesus Christ.
Let's talk about Schindler's List. All three of us seen it?
I have not
actually,
but I know what it's about. I know the story.
We had to watch it in history class in high school, actually.
In high school, we went to the local theater. We had a World War II survivor. I don't know if it was like a actual Jewish person or a
Holocaust survivor or just a soldier.
Yeah, I don't remember, but they talked, and then they saw it with us. I remember it was kind of like that Seinfeld episode where a couple of kids in my class were like making out.
Yeah, it's kind of like inappropriate.
Yeah, and it was like everyone was like, "Why?" But it's a good movie. It's sad. It's powerful. The ending is really, really good. But I don't really have much more to say on it. Like, it's just a pretty okay movie.
Yeah, I almost feel like movies like this shouldn't really be on lists like this, because it's almost in a way a documentary, which, not that documentaries can't be good movies, but documentaries that are in particular about tragedies like this, I feel they kind of should be viewed in a different light as like a Lord of the Rings, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, like, so what would you say? Like the Titanic is like the same boat?
Well, no, because that had a whole like love story around it, and I don't know, it's just different. It'd be like if somebody strapped a camera around their head and walked around a Soviet gulag and then called it a film. It's not a film.
Well, it has a story. Like, you follow Schindler, and he saves a lot of Jewish people.
I'm not saying
That's
it doesn't
the story.
have a story, and I'm not saying that it's not a well-made film. I'm just saying I think it's kind of morbid to include a movie like this in the same breath.
I sort of agree on the sense that, like, I think making a movie like this and having it automatically be in the top 10 best movies of all time, it's kind of like cheating, because it's kind of like it's kind of like pulling at your heartstrings. It's like, yes, we all know it's horrible. What were you gonna say though, Garrett?
I understand what both of you are saying, and I feel like I agree with Mike. Like, it is one of those, like, oh, because it's a movie about this terrible time in Germany,
I have to like it.
You're right. Right. There's that too. Like, if I don't like this movie, then I'm a fucking Nazi sympathizer who's anti-Semitic.
But it is a great movie. Right. It's shot well. It's directed well. It's acted well. It's a well done movie. But it's just kind of like, you gotta like it. What are you, Hitler? Hitler gave that one thumbs down on fucking YouTube.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I agree with that too.
So, yeah.
Well, let's move on. We don't really have a lot to say about that, it seems.
It's a good movie. It is, but is it one of the best? Not in my books.
But if we do want to talk about one of the best...
Oh, Pulp Fiction, my friend? Is that what you want to talk about? Fiction. How did I know?
Well, that's next on the list, sir.
Yeah, that's how you knew my...
Pulp Fiction, it was my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie up until I watched...
Quentin Tarantino
movies. Up until I watched...
Quentin Tarantino movie.
Up until I watched The Hateful Eight and God damn it, what is that movie called?
Which one?
With the black guy?
Django
Unchained.
Yeah, Jesus. Like,
I couldn't remember his fucking name.
The one about the slave and he's getting slaves.
That one, Mike. Anyways, I like those movies better than I like Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is still really good. One of his best movies.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction is the first Tarantino movie I ever watched. And I was like, I loved the way, like, the story wasn't linear. It didn't travel one way in time.
It was all about the he says, she says bullshit.
Yep. So go on, Garrett.
Go on, Garrett.
Maybe lose my train of thought. Because one of the last scenes is whenever they're in the diner, right?
Yeah.
With the motherfucker wallet. Yeah, because before that, what's his face? The Scientologist guy.
Oh, Travolta.
Yeah, because Travolta dies, like, by Bruce Willis, right?
Yeah, Bruce Willis kills him.
But then
he's in the diner scene.
Yeah, he's in the diner after they clean out his car for accidentally shooting that one guy in the back of there. Oh God, that was such a great. That was like one of my favorite parts because it made me laugh so hard whenever he's just like accidentally shoots that guy.
Yeah,
and there's just blood everywhere, way more blood than there should have been. But that's Tarantino.
That's a Tarantino movie. That's his thing. He is on record saying that The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is the greatest movie ever made. Fun fact.
He's wrong.
It's a really good movie. It has a lot of quotes. It's been parodied over and over and over again in other forms of media.
Yeah, you still see the dancing Travolta meme all the time.
Yep. Family Guy, Simpsons.
I feel about it the way that Mike feels about Forrest Gump, in that I think that it is a good movie, but I think it's overrated. I don't think it should be in the top 10.
What do you think is overrated about it?
Well, I'll tell you, the first time I saw it, I was in high school, probably like
getting high.
Roughly the same age you were when you saw it. And I had these two friends who were like this pair of brothers, and they were like really into like
just goes on mute.
Way into like art and music and all this shit. And they were like, "Oh, you haven't seen it, man? It's like the greatest thing ever. Like, well, we own it. We'll bring it over." This is when VHS was still a thing. We'll bring the tape over, and we'll fucking and then we'll watch it. And we did, and we watched it. And at the end, I was like, yeah, okay, like that was a good movie. I don't get why you guys act like it's the second coming of Christ, but I was entertained.
I have the exact same story with that, but with Fight Club.
Are you okay?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Fuck, you guys didn't get it.
No,
I'm pretty fucking far from okay.
Oh, after the fucking ass rape?
Yeah, you know what? But I think movies like Fight Club and other things that didn't come to my mind as I brought this up are more overrated than Pulp Fiction is. Pulp Fiction, I don't think is too overrated.
It's all a matter of opinion. It's like I agree with you about Fight Club. I don't think that's one of the greatest movies of all time, and I know a lot. And I think it's a good movie, but I think it belongs.
Fight Club is really good, but it's more overrated than Pulp Fiction is.
They both fit into like the cult classic genre too, though. Like they have this huge following, and even that's why we say they're overrated. Like almost any cult classic you can say is overrated, just because there's a group of people that absolutely love it.
You know what?
For their own reasons, and you might enjoy it, but you don't love it like them.
There's one movie that was super overrated. It still is not overrated, but one of those movies that a lot of people always talk about, and it's the only one that I saw that actually lived up, and I was like, that is not an overrated movie. Is Scarface.
Okay, yeah, Scarface is pretty good. I enjoyed it.
For me, that lived up to the hype. And it's the only overhyped movie that I've seen that did so.
Personally, I think Titanic lived up to its hype.
I see that the movie does nothing for me. It did nothing for me.
Titanic is just, I agree. It didn't do much because it's just a love story, and then they all die. And I'm just like,
Rose, I'm so cold. Rose.
Jack could have fit on that door.
Yeah, but the acting is really good. All the characters are intriguing in their own way.
I'm a poor man with a rich woman.
And
I could have starred in that movie.
When Mike was at Gabe and Julie's wedding, he cosplayed as Billy Zane from Titanic.
So, anyways, let's move on.
Why do you hate whenever I bring that up?
No, I don't. It's just let's move on.
Wait. Before we do, I just want to say my favorite Tarantino movie is Django. Just put that on the record.
Django's it's really good. Now,
amazing.
Like we said, this list is kind of modified, but for our this list that we made from the list, it's whatever. This is the newest movie on the list.
We're skipping Coco and Godfather Part 2.
Yeah. This is The Dark
Knight.
Knigget. Guys, if you're going to say all the letters with a hard sound, you got to say Knigget.
Whoa. Anyways, The Dark Knight is the second movie in the, what is his name, Garrett?
Nolan?
Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy.
You could have said Christian Bale Batman trilogy too.
You could also say the Christian Bale Batman trilogy as well. What did you guys think about it? Because I will add in.
This is a movie that I'll be honest, I've never sat down and watched the entire thing.
No.
I've seen about half of it. Basically because the person I was watching it with, they'd already started it when I showed up, and anyways. And I feel like it's one of those movies that if I were to actually sit down and watch the whole thing, it'd be like Pulp Fiction, where I'd be like, all right, that was an okay movie, but people need to stop acting like it dropped out of God's asshole.
No.
You're wrong, Eric.
You're wrong. You need to watch the whole thing because it's fucking when I saw it in theaters, I remember sitting in the fucking theater and I could tell that the movie was winding down, and I was like, can this please just not end? Like, can I just...
So you were like that girl that you saw at Deadpool. You were like, no, I love him. Bring him back.
No, I didn't say that. I just was having such a good time because it's actually a good movie, unlike Deadpool, which sucked. I didn't want it to end. It was just so good. And mostly because it was how it was filmed. And everything is a practical effect. Almost everything is they actually did it. Like the scene where he flips the truck, that really happened. They flipped that motherfucking truck. They fucking destroyed a fucking expensive ass camera, one of 3 that existed at the time, filming that movie.
Man, Mike, you really know your facts on this.
I can appreciate that it came out in 2008 and wasn't 90% CGI. That's pretty impressive.
It's shot so good because he was Superman does good, blah 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 blah. it's fucking fantastic, and it's just so good. Like, the Joker's amazing, Harvey Dent's amazing, Batman's great, Rachel is great. I don't know. I love it. I think it's fucking great. It definitely deserves to be in the top 10.
Yeah, I agree totally. I think Heath Ledger had an amazing Joker. Christian Bale is probably the best Batman we'll see in modern Batman movies.
Probably.
And yeah, just the storyline in this one also was really good with how Two-Face eventually shows up and
becomes
all
Two-Face.
The tragedies. Yeah, how Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face. So
when I watched it for the first time, I was like, Harvey Dent, like, that name is so familiar. Like, he's definitely someone, but I couldn't remember what villain he was. And then when he was like Two-Face, I was like,
Once I saw him flipping the coin, I was like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe
like, I couldn't remember his name, but I remembered his shtick. So
now, a little side note is, and I don't know why, but when the other trilogies were coming out, McDonald's made cups.
Oh, okay.
Made cups for the movies, and as a child, I wanted nothing more than the Batman cups from McDonald's. I don't know.
This was 9 years ago. You weren't a child.
They were glasses. Well, no. It wasn't. It was the Christopher Nolan ones. It was the other ones.
Oh, okay. The one with
I want to say the Tim Burton, but they're not Tim Burton. One of them was Tim Burton.
The one with the
George Clooney.
Yeah.
A bat credit card. I beat you to it that time.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Anyways, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Let's talk about the one that we have nothing to say about because none of us have seen it, The Godfather.
I prefer The Money Pit. That was from Family Guy when they were talking about The Godfather. But yeah. One of those classic fucking films that I've never gotten around to seeing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's probably good.
Yeah.
Everybody always parodies The Godfather and various things like
Yeah, you fucked that up. You coming to my wedding on the day of my daughter's wedding? No, Mike.
He's an old man rambling. It's just yeah. Yeah, yours is better. Eyes barely open as he's like eating like garlic stick and bruschetta.
Yeah, he's Italian. He's got to be eating like.
That's all I know. There's like the part where they close the door on them because like Seinfeld does it.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know.
And then there's that one part where the movie just goes to black. No, that's The Sopranos.
That's The Sopranos, yeah.
Sopranos and Godfather always get mixed up in my head because all I think of is Italian mob boss.
Oh, it's very different versions of Italians though in that movie, in that show. I wanted to just like at some point just cut the podcast, but it's not over. But like end it halfway through my sentence. But let's not do that. Because that's how The Sopranos ended.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the fucking Sopranos.
I know, but it would have been a great ending for the fucking thing.
No, it wouldn't, because no one would have gotten the reference, because it doesn't make any sense, because we're not talking about The Sopranos.
But we were just talking about The Sopranos.
Because I brought them up.
Yeah, and then I wanted to do that. I just came to oh my god, the idea just came to my head right now.
All right, let's just move on here.
Because none of us have seen it. Let's talk about the final movie on the list. Okay, I like this movie. It's a great movie.
I agree.
Can we say the name of it?
Well, it's not my number one.
Yeah, we already know what your number one is.
I'm just saying, like, I would not put this anywhere close
I don't think this is any of our number ones. This is IMDb's user rating.
But it's a great movie. Don't get me wrong. The Shawshank Redemption.
Yes. Good movie. Also very good story by Stephen King.
Stephen King usually does do pretty good stories, I hear.
Yeah, he does. He's good at...
He has one hit out of like 12 books.
No, you're Mike. He has strong... Like any writer, he has strong points and he has weak points. His strong point has always been he writes really interesting... He always writes really, really interesting stories, and he writes dialogue very well. His weak point is that he can't write a decent ending to save his fucking life, and that's why this is one of the actually rare Stephen King stories that had a satisfying good ending, which is probably another reason why it's so well regarded.
Is it a satisfying ending?
Well, what's more satisfying than seeing the guy become free, and then the idea that Red is going to be able to join him? He didn't
serve his goddamn time for the crime he committed.
He was innocent.
Yeah.
The fucking justice system found him guilty, therefore he was guilty.
The justice system...
Name one time that anyone was wrongfully accused or wrongfully put into jail. Name one time.
I can literally pull up a list.
D. Paul Morin, a guy who lived 10 minutes away from the town he grew up in.
I'm kidding.
There's the Bob Dylan song called Hurricane about someone who got wrongfully accused.
I'm kidding, everyone. No, yeah, it's good. It's one of those things where, like, I would say it's essentially a perfect movie. Where like everything works for it, everything is good. There's nothing wrong with it.
I would love to crawl through shit, Mike, on taco night.
Well, no, I'm
just lovely.
I'm just saying, like how it was made. It was perfect. It's just, as for me and my personal taste, like it just that story type just does not do much for me.
Every time I think of this, I think of the time Family Guy did it. Whenever Peter's telling his story of it, and Peter's crawling through the sewers on taco night.
Yeah. He's like, why he picked taco night to escape? I have no idea why.
Yeah.
And then Brian, I think Brian is Red in Family Guy. And he gets out of jail.
No, it's Cleveland.
Yeah, it's Cleveland.
Oh, it is. Oh, that's right. It is
because that's one thing they actually changed. Like it's very, very faithful to Stephen King's story. The one thing they changed is that in the book, Red is a white guy. He's an Irish guy. That's why his name is Red.
What?
That's why his name is Red, because he has red hair. But of course, in the movie version, as Family Guy pointed out, we have to make one black and one white because that makes it more special for the audience.
And also, like,
no, I don't think that's why they did that.
No one has a better narrating voice than Morgan Freeman.
No, I'm not saying that he didn't do fantastic in the role. I'm not saying that.
But
I think it was just Morgan Freeman was like, I want to be Red, and they were like,
let me get back to my point. Cleveland in the movie, he leaves and then he gets the note from Dufresne or whatever the fuck, and he says, "Remember that old tree I talked about?" And Cleveland's like, shit.
Yeah.
That's something, because I read the book long before I read or saw the movie, and that was one thing I always thought, because like he's like, there's a rock wall at the end of one hayfield in Buxton, Maine. It's at the north end of the hayfield, and there's a piece of black rock in it that has a key underneath. And it's like, what if he couldn't find that fucking rock? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, like how many?
He didn't remember.
Like I guess he knew within that field or within that town that there was one rock wall with a tree.
Yeah, maybe it was really obvious, actually, because everywhere else was just, like, bare.
Like, that's a place he had in his mind, and he knew that, like, that was the only fucking thing. But, like, you know, like, the movie spans over how many years? Like, what if someone built...
30, I think.
Yeah, what if someone built over it?
Yeah, no, that's something they bring up in the book, too. I think they touch on it in the movie, too.
Well, what do they say in the book?
Yeah, like, what if... What?
What do they say in the book?
Well, they're basically like, when he's talking about Dufresne making his escape, he's like, it must have driven him nuts knowing that at any moment they could have decided to put in a fucking apartment complex over that field, Now,
what was there? Was it money?
No, it was a key to a safe deposit box where like his new identity and money was locked in. And then he left. You're supposed to assume that he then left for Red. In the book
to Mexico, I guess.
Yeah, like he leaves him directions how to find him and some money so that he can get there.
They go to Fire Island.
Why?
That's not even a funny joke. I don't know, because they were gay. I don't know. It's not even funny.
Is that all we have to say about this?
That's all we have to say about that.
Shawshank,
my boy said
good
that.
movie. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, good.
Not my number one, but it was good.
Not mine either, but
Well,
good movie.
what to finish it off? What is your number one?
I'm not sure I have number one.
When I say what is your favorite movie of all time, what came to your head?
The Witcher 3.
It's a video game.
Yeah, because it's the only thing. It's the only thing that I have absolute, like...
Come on, Garrett. There's a gun to your head. He's screaming in your face. What is your favorite fucking movie?
I'll just pick, like, a cult favorite, like fucking Star Wars Episode 5 or something.
That is a good movie.
I mean, it's not my favorite, but I'll say it in hopes that he doesn't kill me.
He knows you're lying. You're dead.
Actually, my favorite was Leon the Professional, because I love the idea of an old man raping a little girl.
What? Well,
that was a dark joke.
that's the end of this podcast.
Well, thanks for asking me what my favorite movie is.
I did ask you. You were like, I don't know.
Well, I don't think he's... Oh, did you say that?
Basically, I was gonna. My answer was gonna be like I could sit down and write out a top 10 or a top 20 or a top 50, but trying to put them in any type of order, like if you were to do a top 50, which there's some would be higher than others, but when you get into like the top 10, it's really hard for me to try and like organize them into like an order. So for me, it is. But if you held a gun to my head and forced me to choose, I guess I would probably say They Live.
What is that?
It's a movie about basically trying to convert you to a Christian.
No, it's a movie about... Why you always make the dumbest Christian jokes? It's a movie about essentially, like the one sentence summary of it would be a homeless drifter discovers a pair of sunglasses that allow him to wake up to the fact that aliens have taken over the earth.
It just shows him who's an alien and who's not an alien.
Logan would be up there.
Oh, Logan.
I really enjoyed that one.
And The Witcher is up there because the girls in it make your winky feel good.
That's me, like, kissing my fingers, like the perfection thing, because Logan was so good.
The girls in The Witcher 3 are digital. You have your hand to make your winky feel good.
Well,
I liked it.
It's about time for this old cowboy to mosey on out.
Well, I guess we should be hitting the old dusty trail.
Let's go to the old saloon. Okay.
All right, Eric, do your catchphrase.
I'd buy that for $1.
Just,
I'll see you next time, viewers.
See you later.
See ya.
Nerds.